Hey guys, and welcome to a Kerbal Space Program moon landing tutorial. I'm going to show you how to get to the moon, how to land safely, and hopefully how to get home. For this tutorial I used the Kerbal X space shuttle, and it's just when you click on load and you go down to Kerbal X and you can load it. And all the timing levels and everything are already set up. So I just thought that would be the easiest one for me to use for this tutorial. Now if you don't know how to launch a rocket or how to get into orbit, you can check out my video in the description. I'll have a link to my previous video about getting into orbit of Kerbal. So let me just speed this up. This is me getting into orbit. And just waiting for my apoaps to get to about 100,000. Once it gets to 100,000, I stop and wait till I get to my apoaps. Then I fire prograde, which all this stuff is explained in my previous video about how to orbit Kerbal and get in a steady orbit. Once you're in a steady orbit around Kerbal, where your apoaps and your periaps are both around 100,000, you want to click on the moon and hit set as target. Now let me just speed this up a bit. I use time acceleration to orbit around Kerbal so that I can get to where my apoaps is. Now once I get to my apoaps, what I want to do is put my marker on the map on my prograde vector, and I want to fire my engines so that my periaps will get bigger and head towards the orbit of the moon. As your periaps gets bigger, it will intersect with the moon's orbit, and you have what's called a lunar interaction. Now, this is represented by the orange line. This is where you will run into the moon, and your orbit will change into this thin line around the moon. As you see, when we get to this orange part of the orbit changes, and we are now orbiting around the moon. But we want it to be a circle in a steady orbit with a periaps and an apoaps. Then, once you get to your periaps, you want to fire retrograde to slow yourself down, and you will see your orbit getting smaller, and the line will then turn into a circle, and eventually you want it to touch the surface of the moon somewhere. As you see, I have created a maneuver node by clicking on the blue line and clicking Add Maneuver. It will show me in the bottom left corner how long I have until I reach the surface. This helps a lot. As you get closer and closer to the surface of the moon, you want to try to slow down. As you see on the bottom, right above the navigation ball, it shows your relative speed to the orbit. You want to slow that down quite a bit. Now you want to have your velocity pretty low for landing. Just before you get near the surface, you want to hit G to open your landing gear, and they will fold out. As you can see on the nav ball, my cursor is on the retrograde vector, which is going to slow me down. Before you land, you want your velocity to be below 10 meters a second. Otherwise, your ship will explode. Now, as you can see here, I land and I wobble a bit, but I'm stable. You want to make sure that where you pick to land is stable enough that you won't tip over. As you can see, in the bottom right corner, it shows your Kerbal status. Now you want to click on the Kerbal, which is the spaceman, and you hit EVA, and he will get out of the rocket, and then you can explore the moon. You use W, A, S, and D to maneuver around the moon, and you hit space to turn on your booster pack. Once the booster pack is on, you hit shift to go up, control to go down, Q and E to rotate yourself, and W and S to go forward. It takes a bit of getting used to, but you just gotta remember to slow down before you hit the ground. Now I did make a mistake. As you can see, once I get back in the rocket, I've run out of fuel, and I only have a tiny bit left. So when you're making your rocket, or when you're using Kerbal X as your rocket, you might want to add just, like another stack of boosters or something, because I didn't quite have enough to get to and from the moon. Thanks for watching, guys. If this tutorial helped you at all, make sure to leave a thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next one.